Hello and welcome aboard WhalePod to the finale of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet here on White Whale Gaming. I'm your Captain Whale, and for this last episode we are back on our sandwich-powered lizard bike, and as keen-eyed viewers might have been able to spy, we have a Quaxly and a Fuecoco in our party. As I have had a friend of mine by the name of Aaron help me trade over from my Violet to my Scarlet all the Violet exclusives that I've been catching across that journey, as well as helping me get the last couple trade evolutions. Now, you will see our Pokedex is at 396 caught and 399 battled. The only one we have not encountered at all is Fuecoco's middle evolution. And the 4 we do not own are the evolutions of the 2 starters we did not choose. So as such, our level 1 Quaxly is holding our Lucky Egg, as our Quaxly was bred from the Quaquaval we used on our Violet team. The Fuecoco was an abandoned Fuecoco from the Scarlet playthrough on my personal account. My Scarlet playthrough chose to not use any starter because my personal Violet is planning on using Fuecoco. So since I will have used all 3 starters on 3 different save files, the 4th save file will not be using a starter and instead has Armor Rouge on its lineup for its fire type, the Scarlet exclusive evolution of Charcadet. Oh yeah, there is one more thing that I'll go over later once we're unveiling some of the full Pokedex. But for now, we're just gonna beat up a random Pokemon down here in Area 0 in order to level up our Fuecoco and Quaxly. This is gonna be something of a first for me on this channel, as in this will be the first major series that I will have been completing here on the channel. As while Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has an insane amount of videos already, it is not quite done yet. I still need to grind out a few more things before I can release the last couple episodes there. So this is going to be the first proper finale of any series here on White Whale Gaming. I know there's more to do in Scarlet and Violet, but that's mainly just challenging raids and waiting for new event raids, and I have no interest in really doing any of the Terra raids because, well, they're slightly better than the max raids in Sword and Shield, but they're still pretty subpar in my opinion. And I have too long of an ironically long short list of games to play in order to spend too much time on any one game messing around with stuff like Terra raids. Aqua Cutter, that's when we will teach our Quaxly. No Quaxly. Fuecoco's learning stuff now. These guys should both be evolving after this Scream Tail. After we finally get done with all the new moves. All in all, my experience of Scarlet and Violet has been a good one. I definitely had low expectations going into it because, well, I don't really think Game Freak does that good of a job of managing the Pokemon series. And I was pleasantly surprised. After all, Pokemon was my absolute favorite series growing up and is now, I'd say at best, 3rd, with Xenoblade Chronicles and Mass Effect stealing the show there now. But I've enjoyed my time with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet on and off the channel. No, not Incinerate, Bite is what needs to go here. But as the game is coming to a close, it is definitely time to move on to different games on the channel. And Quaxly's evolving. Into a Quaxwell. The practicing Pokemon, a pure water type, 3 foot 11 inches tall and 47.4 pounds. These Pokemon constantly run through shallow waters to train their legs, then compete with each other to see which of them kicks most gracefully. 397 done. And what's this? Our Fuecoco is evolving too. And our Fuecoco evolved into Crocolore. Crocolore, the Fire Croc Pokemon, is a pure fire type, 3 foot 3 inches tall, and 67.7 pounds. The combination of Crocolore's fire energy and overflowing vitality has caused an egg-shaped fireball to appear on the Pokemon's head. That is now 398 caught and 400 seen. Let's bully another Screamtail here. Oh, and don't worry, this isn't going to be like the end of everything Pokemon Scarlet and Violet related. I'll be back for the DLCs when those eventually drop, if there is going to be DLC for these games instead of a third version or dueling versions. But until then, it's pretty much going to be radio silence from me for Pokemon games. And hopefully now that Pokemon has ran its course on the channel, I can get back into the spirit of wanting to record Temtem episodes for the channel, as those have kind of dropped off these past few weeks, as I've been sort of, not necessarily burnt out, just overloaded on the monster capturing genre as a whole. So yeah, now that Temtem will once again be the only monster capturing game on the channel, it should definitely be easier to get motivated about playing and recording that game. So if you're excited for the return of Temtem, and I guess Pokemon finishing its run is a good thing for you. And of course, Temtem will be returning to its once-a-week uploads on Saturdays. And in the Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday slot that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet have been in so far will be taken up by Fire Emblem Engage. I'm just going to do a quick one playthrough of Fire Emblem Engage here on the channel, and hopefully that will leave me with enough time to record Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Even if I don't finish releasing the episodes before Tears of the Kingdom releases, hopefully I can get the recording done of that game before this May. And aside from that, I do have a few other Nintendo IPs that will feature on the Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday slot, like the last few episodes of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 when they are finally ready to go, will be taking over the Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday time slot, even if Fire Emblem Engage is still running when I'm ready to record Xenoblade, because, well, Xenoblade was here first, and it's just like maybe 2, 3, or 4 episodes left to finish everything off. And Quackavall is going to show up in Scarlet now, once we are done with all the move learning. I will gladly have Crocolore learn Flamethrower, though. Now, we have our Quaxwell going up once more to its fabulous, fabulous Quackavall. And congratulations, our Quaxwell evolved into Quackavall. So once again, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet might be ending, but are in fact not ending, because when the DLC does drop, we will be playing through that. However, I am calling this the end of the series, because we do not even know if there even is going to be DLC yet, let alone when it may be releasing. Sorry, I did not read Quackavall there. We'll go back and get him. Quackavall wants to learn Aqua Step. Oh, we'll go back and get Quackavall right after we get our Skeledirge, actually. We'll read Skeledirge as he's evolving, and then go back and read Quackavall once everything is done. Just a few more Screamtails and we should be golden. Or really anything. I just like bullying Screamtail because I find the idea of a Paradox Jigglypuff to be absolutely amazing. Quackball wants to learn Mega Kick. No, you don't. It's a terrible move. Why do you want to learn a terrible move, Quackball? Yeah, there is one more thing I would like to say about, in particular, one of the Scarlet Paradoxes, and we'll go over that once we're going over the full Pokedex here. Alright. Golduck, you're golden for me. And now you're a dead duck. We are nearing the finale for our Crocolore into Skeledirge magic. This Raichu might just get us to 36 on a Crocolore. I'm not going to be banking on it, but it might happen here. Nope. This Metacham should do the trick, though. We'll even do the trick with a trick. Ooh, so close. So what better way to cap us off than a stupid giraffe? That's what you get, stupid giraffe. And Crocolore is 36 at long last. What? Crocolore is evolving. And our Crocolore evolved into Skeledirge. The Singer Pokemon, it is Fire and Ghost type, 5 foot 3 inches long, I'm guessing. 719.8 pounds. The fiery bird changes shape when Skeledirge sings. Rumor has it that the bird was born when the fireball on Skeledirge's head gained a soul. That is our 400th Pokemon in the deck, so we will teach him Torch Song. By round. Forgot round and learn Torch Song instead. Now, we'll open up our Pokedex here. We have our nice little ribbon by there now. Amazing, we completed the Pokedex and obtained a Beast Ball. That means you've encountered every single Pokemon there is to find in Paldea. Exploring the region on your own 2 feet is a real treasure of an experience, isn't it? You know, I think you deserve a special diploma in recognition of this magnificent achievement. Come see me in the biology lab back at Naranja Academy when you have some time. Good old orange-colored academy as opposed to purple-colored academy. Pokedex completion mark has been added to your profile. As a reward for completing the Pokedex, you received a Pokeball that has only 1/10 the catch rate of a normal Pokeball. Whoop-de-doo. No, it's amazing, because raids are guaranteed capture, so you can just have a cool-looking Pokemon. That is if I cared about doing raids in this generation. Congratulations, you completed the Pokedex. Okay, Battle Pass. Now what we're really here for. Clearing away these last 4 ugly red exclamation marks. And learning about our Dancer Pokemon that we forgot to read about. Water Fighting, 5 foot 11 inches tall, weight 136.5 pounds. A single kick from Quackball can send a truck rolling. This Pokemon uses its powerful legs to perform striking dances from far off lands. Now, let's go and make good on that message, obviously, from Professor Jacques. Or Mr. Jacques. and fly to Naranja Academy. I guess the professor is the one down in the crater researching a weird Pokemon that are not from the future. They were made up by Heath and brought to life by a dream machine, not a time machine. That's why the only ones that Sada was able to bring forth were the ones described in the Scarlet book. Now, that's right, we have no more classes to take because we are not quite straight A students. We missed one question on one of the battle studies tests. It was a question about competitive rule sets, which I know absolutely nothing about, and I was watching YouTube videos at the time and was just mashing through the classes expecting it to be easy, and well, I lost the coin flip and guessed wrong. Hey, Mr. Jacques. Hello, Whale. What? Are you telling me you've already registered 400 species of Pokemon to your Pokedex? Wow, you did it! You completed the Pokedex. It's amazing, really amazing. Research on the Pokemon of the Paldea region is moving ahead like never before. And it's all thanks to you, Will. You know, I visited this strange shop the other day and happened to pick up a little something. Might not seem like much to get a second-hand gift, but here, from me to you. We obtained the Shiny Charm. We put the Shiny Charm in our key items pocket. Having one of these mysterious shining charms makes it more likely you'll encounter shiny Pokemon in the wild. I wish I could give you something a bit better for your efforts. Now, what's all this commotion about, I wonder? Ah, Director Clavel, this student of mine completed their Pokedex. Upon my word. What a marvelous accomplishment, Master Whale. He really surprised me too, pulling off a feat like this. Well, Mr. Jacques' delight clearly shows how commendable your work has been. Please allow me to reward you with a small gift. Students who achieve great feats such as this deserve to be recognized for their hard work. This congratulatory message, penned by the company that certifies Pokedex completion, is for you. Diploma Trainer Whale, we hereby certify your achievement of completing the Pokedex. May this great feat be celebrated by all. Game Freak. Yeah, it was in spite of you, not because of you, Game Freak, that I managed to complete this Pokedex. Sometimes I wish Nintendo would, or the Pokemon Company would, give the IP over to a more capable developer. I reconfigured your Pokedex app so that you may view your diploma there anytime you like. Programming is another of Director Clavel's skills, you know? But anyway, you sure did great work with the Pokedex, Whale. If completing the Pokedex was one of the treasures you were after, then I say you've had a resounding success on your treasure hunt. Quite right, Mr. Jacques. A fitting commitment indeed, if rather surprising coming from you. Well, I am his homeroom teacher after all. I gotta act like it from time to time, I guess. You may have completed your Pokedex, but there's still plenty of adventure to be had. No, there's not. It's just raids, and raids are boring. I hope you'll keep looking forward to... looking for new Pokemon to befriend here in Paldea. I very much look forward to watching over your continued progress as well. The one silver lining I will say that the raids in Scarlet and Violet have over max raids in Sword and Shield is the single player experience in them does not absolutely suck. In fact, the single player experience might actually be better from time to time than the multiplayer experience, as AI party KOs do not affect the timer, whereas player party KOs will give the whole team a time penalty. Now, last thing to show off here in the Pokédex. Each volume here does have its own little bit of splash art for each of the Pokemon. We're not going to go through all 400 of them, because that would take forever. But there are a few we are going to spotlight here, like the starter evolution lines showing our baby little Sprigatito going into a moody teenage Florigato before blossoming into the deceptive and a very devious Meowscarada, the jester of the trio. Then we get into our derpy brain-dead Fuecoco, who turns into a derpy brain-dead Crocolore, who turns into a derpy literally dead Skeledirge. Let's get a better look at those for a little bit. I know it's supposed to be an egg with a nest, but it also feels like it was deliberately designed to be a friar sombrero. And of course, our Day of the Dead Sugar Skull Skeledirge here. And then, last but not least, our Disney copyright infringement, who evolves into a... oh gosh, what is that thing? Get it off my screen. And who eventually becomes a flamboyant dancer in the graceful Quackavall. Now, aside from the starters, loop back around to the back here. Let's get back into the oceanic Pokemon section, because there is one I want to talk about before I jump right to the legendaries. Oh, where is it? Ah, yes. Finizen. Finizen is not only the first dolphin Pokemon we've ever had after 9 generations of Pokemon. No, Gorbis is not a dolphin. Gorbis is based off of deep sea ratfish. But we also have Palafin, and yes, both the group in the bottom right and the big boy center left are Palafin. On the right, we have the Zero form, or maybe those are more Finizen, I can't tell, but Palafin's base form looks just like, I'll show you, it looks like a Finizen with a heart on its chest. But that is Palafin's hero form for Zero to Hero. Palafin is a Superman reference, with the disguised Palafin, the Finizen with a heart on its chest, representing Clark Kent, the heart being evocative of Superman's S. And Palafin only transforms into its hero form after being retreated from battle, after being sent out in its Zero form, and being sent back into battle. Also, an interesting thing about Palafin is it needs to be at least level 38 to evolve from a Finizen, which is a reference to how the first Superman comic released in the year 1938. And it also needs to be leveled up in co-op in order to evolve into a Palafin. This is, I believe, since it's like supposed to be you either entering another person's world, or in my case, another person entering my world, it's supposed to be that, like Superman in its own world, Palafin is a Zero. It's only by leaving its own world it can become a hero. Now, we will head back to the more important Pokemon of the Dex and show off their arts. Starting with Great Tusk. A nice, majestic, completely fictional Donphan. Our Screaming Tail, which I absolutely love how they went and did a bit of attention to detail there, and even though Heath is 100% faking these Pokemon, and they did not exist before Heath dreamed them into existence for Sada to pull from the quote-quote past, really pull from her imagination. It seems though Heath did his homework and realized that Evolution Stones are a more recent discovery. Evolution Stones, I believe, came to the Pokemon world similarly to how Deoxys and the Hoenn Megastones came to the Pokemon world, being that they are actually fragments of broken up meteorites that fell down to Earth. And that these Jigglypuffs here, whenever they're from in the past, must predate the first of these meteor showers. As there are no evolution stones in the distant past to evolve Screamtail and make the Screamtail a Wigglytuff rather than a Jigglypuff. Brute Bonnet is it is the sussiest of all Amoonguses. It is the Amogus Pokemon, and I absolutely love that for it. Fluttermane, just like Screamtail, is another example of a Pokemon that is not a paradox of its final evolution, because the final evolution needs a evolution stone, which did not occur in the ancient past. Once again, Heath must have been doing his homework there. Slitherwing is an interesting concept for a Volcarona that has still not quite adapted the power of flight. What purpose those large wings on its back serve, though, may remain a mystery. We're gonna pass on Sandy Shocks for now and come back to him later. Now we get into the future paradoxes. We will be reading their entries as well, as these are unique from the Violet ones. As a whole, I'm not too fond of the future paradoxes. Iron Treads, the paradox Pokemon, is ground and steel type. It is 2 foot 11 inches tall and weighs 529.1 pounds. This Pokemon closely resembles a scientific weapon that a paranormal magazine claimed was sent to this planet by aliens. Maybe this paranormal magazine has been in circulation for a couple hundred years now. I do believe Heath's expedition into the Great Crater was 200 years or so before the present day. Now we have Iron Bundle, my least favorite future paradox Pokemon for reasons to be seen in my 1 or 2 Violet episodes covering the Iron Bundle. Iron Bundle paradox Pokemon, Ice and Water type, 2 feet tall, 24.3 pounds. His shape is similar to a robot featured in a paranormal magazine article. The robot was said to have been created by an ancient civilization. There's another paradox for you that we'll get into a little bit more discussion on a little bit later. Next we have Iron Hands. Fighting an electric type, it's 5 foot 11 inches tall and weighs 839.3 pounds. It's very similar to a cyborg covered exclusively by a paranormal magazine. The cyborg was said to be the modified form of a certain athlete. Now we have Iron Jugulus, probably the weakest of the paradox Pokemon if you ask me. It is dark and flying, 4 foot 3 inches tall and weighs 244.7 pounds. It resembles a certain Pokemon introduced in a paranormal magazine, described as the offspring of a Hydreigon that fell in love with a robot. Iron Moth, the future paradox Volcarona, is a fire and poison type. The past paradox Volcarona maintained Volcarona's bug typing, whereas the future maintained its fire typing. It is 3 feet 11 inches tall and weighs 79.4 pounds. This Pokemon resembles an unknown object described in a paranormal magazine as a UFO sent to observe humanity. Iron Thorns is the last of the standard Violet exclusive paradoxes. It is rock and electric type, 5 foot 3 inches tall and 668 pounds. It has some similarities to a Pokemon introduced in a dubious magazine as a Tyranitar from 1 billion years in the future. Yeah, that is one thing about Screamtail as well, is Screamtail's Violet entry, which the Violet entries for past Pokemon are all about a paranormal magazine, introduces Screamtail as a Jigglypuff from 1 billion years in the past. Now we have the pseudo-legendary for Generation 9, Frigibax. Well, the first form of it at least, which evolves into Arctibax. We're starting to see a little bit of a resemblance in that back fin to a certain kaiju. Certain world-famous kaiju, that would even be. And we have our new, even closer resemblance to Godzilla than Tyranitar Pokemon, Baxcalibur. Its type is the exact same as its species name. It is the Ice Dragon Pokemon and is Ice and Dragon type. Okay, yeah, Ice Fin, Ice Dragon. Then we have Gimmighoul, the Pokemon with the national Pokedex number of 999. And its evolution Golden Go, Pokemon number 1000. We have Wo-Chien, Qianpao, Tinglu, and Chiyu, who are all in their portraits here, or their splash arts here, in front of the paradoxically still sealed seals where they were encountered. Now we have Roaring Moon, the king of all Violet or Scarlet paradoxes, the Mega Salamence inspired past paradox of Salamence. And we have Iron Valiant, the Galadivar paradox convergent evolution of Gardevoir and Gallade. It is not actually an evolved form for either Gardevoir and Gallade, but an evolution in the traditional real-world sense of the word evolution, in a change happening over a long period of time. It is fairy and fighting type, 4 foot 7 inches tall, and weighs 77.2 pounds. It has some similarities to a mad scientist invention covered in a paranormal magazine. We do learn a little bit more about this from an issue of the paranormal magazine found in Turo's lab in Pokemon Violet, where it is stated that the mad scientist was setting out to create the ultimate psychic-type Pokemon, and ironically created a dual-type Pokemon that is not psychic-type at all. It instead combines the secondary typings of both Gardevoir and Gallade to become our first fairy fighting type in the game. Now there are only two left. We have our majestic lizard bike Koraidon, and our less majestic lizard bike Miraidon. Koraidon gang, rise up, everyone. Miraidon is electric and dragon, and this is its ultimate mode. It is 11 foot 6 inches tall, 529.1 pounds. Much remains unknown about this creature. It resembles Cyclizar, but it is far more ruthless and powerful. So the ultimate mode, as opposed to the Apex build for Koraidon. Koraidon is quote-quote shorter, but we won't hold that against him. He's also beefier, weighing the same as Iron Thorns. Now, there was one we skipped over back in the Scarlet Paradoxes. That is Sandy Shocks. Sandy Shocks has unironically become my favorite past Paradox Pokemon. Why? Well, you see, I've been going a little bit deep down the DLC rabbit hole theorizing. Watching a whole bunch of Tyranitar Tube videos about these supposed leaks about the DLC, what the DLC might be and whatnot. And it reminded me of a certain concept, because in one of T-Tar's theories about potential DLC, he mentions, specifically he mentions that going through data mines of Scarlet and Violet, you would discover that the code name for the Paldea region is Atlantis. Atlantis comes from ancient Greek legend, particularly first being depicted in writings of the philosopher Plato, as T-Tar discusses in his theory. But one thing I wanted to add to this theory is that the ancient Greeks lived at a rather unique time in history. Ancient Greece, as we like to describe it, rose up from the ashes of the Bronze Age collapse. The Bronze Age was significantly more advanced than the Greeks and the civilizations that followed it, and to this day, we still have no idea what caused the Bronze Age collapse. As such, a lot of these ancient Greek myths about gods and monsters might in fact just be the Greeks trying to make sense of these ruins around them from Bronze Age civilizations that possessed technology they could not replicate. I'm not saying they had anything super advanced, but at least stuff advanced enough that it was lost with the Bronze Age collapse, and the Greeks who came after the end of the Bronze Age could not replicate it. Of course, Sandy Shocks here is taking this concept to the extreme, but I do believe Sandy Shocks is inspired by the Bronze Age collapse. It's, after all, not the only example of technology that it was not possible to be recreated by civilizations that came after the fall of a great civilization, One example is for roughly 1600 years from the fall of the Roman Empire until just barely a few years ago, we as modern humans still had no idea how to replicate Roman concrete, and until very recently did not understand how it worked and was able to be as strong as it was and even able to quote heal itself over time. Other examples of this are Damascus steel, which is a unique process of alloy creation that we still cannot replicate today, even centuries after Damascus steel first appeared on the scene. Yes, we still do have new objects being made from Damascus steel today, but all those objects made from Damascus steel are just made from repurposed Damascus steel that we've found. We still don't know how to weave the different metals together in the correct manner in order to form true Damascus steel. And finally, scattered across the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia, there are these temples covered in intricate carvings that we still have no way of, even with our most advanced of precision lasers, have any way of replicating carvings this clear, this detailed, and as precise as the carvings found on these ancient temples. So a lot of people say, how the heck is Sandy Shocks from the past? Well, it's quite possible that in the Pokemon world, the technology that gave rise to Magneton was not new technology, but rediscovered technology. Or perhaps Heath just made everything up in a fever dream and was just extrapolating based on this concept of technology that they had, that they knew about at his time, that they still could not replicate from a more ancient period in time. So because of the whole connection between the Paldea region and the legends of Atlantis and the Greeks and the Bronze Age collapse, Sandy Shocks has actually become one of my favorite paradoxes. One last thing we are going to do before we finish things off is we're going to go back to the Scarlet book. It's the Scarlet book, the mysterious red tome. Do we want to read it? Which section would you like to read? That's the... I wonder what this is. Ah, this is what it is. An imagined Pokemon. A drawing of a fantastical Pokemon as envisioned by our sketch artist. The size and ferocity of the strange Pokemon that dwell in Area Zero's lower reaches tickled the artist's imagination, prompting the sketch of what other species that inhabit these depths might look like. This is at the center of pretty much every DLC theory out there. This is believed to be a Paradox Suicune that incorporates elements from Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. And in Violet, in the Violet book, there is another Paradox here that is a Paradox Virizion, that is a combination of aspects from Virizion, Terrakion, and Cobalion. So a lot of speculation is being thrown out that whatever the DLC is going to be, it's going to have something to do with these Pokemon. This legendary beast amalgamation for Scarlet, and the Swords of Justice amalgamation for Violet. The extra interesting thing here is that the three subject Pokemon that were combined into this did not even exist in Heath's time. The Entei, Raikou, and Suicune did not exist until after the burning down of the Burnt Tower in Johto, as Ho-Oh created the three by resurrecting three Pokemon, presumably a Flareon, Jolteon, and Vaporeon, who had died in the fire. Although that theory about them being evolutions is still just a theory. And that was roughly about a century before the current Pokemon timeline, and it is theorized that Heath was around 200 years before the current timeline, and maybe even a contemporary of Professor Laventon from Legends Arceus. Now, we're done reading sections here, because there is one more thing I'd like to show you, and for that we're going to need to leave the outdoors so we can call a flying taxi. And now we have at the Pokepath Lighthouse back in Sada's lab. There should be a couple issues of that paranormal magazine in there that we missed the first time in there. That will maybe give us some insights into Roaring Moon and one of the other paradoxes. For Violet, it was Iron Valiant, and I don't remember the other, so I don't have a guess on what the other one for Scarlet would be. But we have... There's a magazine entitled A Culture. It's the April issue. Do you want to read it? Yes, we do. An article caught your eye. Enigmas of Paldea, file number 4, Roaring Moon, primeval salamence? This elusive creature is called Roaring Moon after a similarly described being in the Scarlet Book. It looks similar to a salamence when they undergo a certain phenomenon elsewhere in the world, but it's unclear if there is any connection. Elsewhere in the world would be Hoenn, showing that Scarlet and Violet take place in the Mega Timeline, as opposed to the non-Mega Timeline. This creature scatters feathers as it flies around at high speeds, seeking prey. It's thought to be more savage than salamence, and if you should encounter one, it is imperative that you avoid actual contact. Oh, and now we have the A Culture May issue. An article caught your eye. Enigmas of Paldea, file number 5, Fluttermane, a ghostly pterosaur? Fluttermane, a name taken from a strange creature in a book with a matching description, appearing in the Scarlet Book, is said to float around the sky at night with its long hair writhing about it. Eyewitness accounts describe it as resembling a giant Misdreavus. At first glance, albeit a highly fierce and aggressive one, some believe that it is a ghost of a pterosaur from a long-gone era. And there's what we see that Sada is fueling her fascination with the paranormal through. Well, not with the paranormal, but with these ancient Pokemon through. And now, what better way to cap off the series than to return to the very spot where it all started? After all, we're just a quick dash on our sandwich-powered lizard bike away from home. So let's reminisce on how we first met our Oinkaloni here right along the Poco Path, as we charge into Cabo Poco once more. Mom, the school year's over, I'm home. Ah, there's a TM on our house. Oh, don't worry, I'll get that down. What the heck, there's a squawkabilly up here? Well, whatever, we're running from it. Did not know that squawkability would battle us. And a sunny day up on top of our house. Hi, Mom, I'm back from school. And this is where we're going to leave this series, Whale Pod, right where we began it. I do thank you all so much for watching, and do remember to like and subscribe if you have not done so already. And as always, comments are welcome down below. Now, with that said and done, I hope you all are having fantastic days, Whale Pod. I hope you have enjoyed this journey we've gone on together through Pokémon Scarlet. It is a rather surreal feeling to be saying a goodbye to our first full-length series here on the channel. Well, it's not a true goodbye. We'll be back for the DLC, but I don't want to leave our goodbye until then, because we don't even know if there's going to be DLC, or should it be revealed when it is coming. Now, I hope you all are having fantastic days, Whale Pod. Remember to stay cool, stay classy, and most importantly, stay healthy. But until next time, this is Captain Whale, signing off.